Okay, so today we're going to take a look at making the actual extra ball object. So last time we made the extra ball power up. If we take a look at our scene here, I push play, I'll have a row that generates. It has random objects that are either an extra ball power up, nothing, a square brick, or a triangular brick. If I shoot the ball off, I missed. If I shoot the ball off, I can hit the extra ball power up. Nothing happens with it though. So let's make the extra ball actually appear. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a text object on this scene that tells me how many extra balls I have that are going to be coming. So to do this, I'm going to go just in my hierarchy. I'm going to go to Create, UI, and Text. This is going to be a really, really simple text object. Now, if you haven't used it before, let me actually go back and show you guys. If you haven't used it before, this is your main view here. You just created that text object, and it's somewhere. I just don't see it right away. It also creates this canvas. And the canvas is anything that you put user interface elements on. So to actually see the canvas, I can either double click it, which zooms me way far out, or I can just use the mouse wheel and zoom out. I'm going to double click on the text just to kind of center myself on there, and I'm going to move this so that it's somewhere on the canvas. Now you can see the canvas represents what's actually on the screen right now. So I can have this be near the top, near the bottom, left side, right side. Doesn't matter. If I go outside of this white lined area here though, I'm outside of the screen area. So I want to make sure that I have it somewhere I can see it. The other thing that's important are these anchors, and we'll talk about those in just 1 second. So I'm going to have my text go kind of in the bottom corner here, and for now I'm just going to have it be 4 zeros. Unity defaults text to this gray color. I prefer it if text is either white or black, so I'm going to go black for this. I'm also going to choose best fit, so that it takes up the size that best fits the box that it's currently in. And I'm just going to resize it a little bit. Now, if I hit play right now, it's going to look fine on the display that I have down here, the smaller one. But if I maximize it, you can see that it's no longer down in the corner. It's kind of up here in the middle. And the reason why is these anchors. So the text box is going to keep a certain relative distance from where these anchor points are. I like, as a general rule of thumb, especially if you're building for multiple displays, just to make sure that the anchors are at the edges of the text box. So I'm just going to grab them and pull them down. I'm also going to set my max size of my text to be higher. So with the text highlighted, I'm going to go over here, my max size I'm going to set to be 100. It probably won't need to be 100 points. But now if I hit play, again it looks fine down here, but if I maximize it, remember before it was kind of smaller than I wanted it to be. Now it's kind of the right size I want it to be. Cool. Now, in order to keep things clear, I'm going to name this as number of balls in scene. Just so I know what the object that actually tells me how many balls I have is. Okay. So now, let's create the actual physical ball object. To do that, I'm going to take the ball that's in our scene. I double clicked on it to zoom in on it. I'm going to take the ball that's currently in our scene and I'm going to duplicate it. Command D to duplicate, or Control D if you're on Windows. And I'm going to name this extra ball, and I'm going to move it so it's off to the side here. Now my main ball is black. I want this to look slightly different. The power up is kind of a blue, so let's make this like, I don't know, purple or red or orange or whatever color you want it to be. If you want it to still be black, that's fine. Orange doesn't look great. Red's a bit better. Yeah, we'll go with red. Okay, and now I want to make this a prefab. So down here in your assets, choose your prefab folder, pull your extra ball into it. Now there's a few things I need to take away from it. So I need to take away the ball controller script, because this is not the main ball. This is going to be something that's going to have the same initial velocity as the main ball, but from there it's going to act independent of it. So there we go. Got that done. Now, let's check everything else here really quickly. Collider with the ball material, rigid body, spreader. Cool. So now that I've made that a prefab, I can take the extra ball that's in the scene and just delete it, because I don't want it to actually be in the scene at startup. I'm going to be adding it instead, depending on how many power-ups the player gains. So let's go to our scripts here, and let's start with the game manager script. So go ahead and open that up in MonoDevelop, and there's a few things we're going to be adding to the game manager script. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be adding another list. So let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. Currently we have a list that we've created of the bricks in the scene. We're going to create one more list, and that's going to be of the extra balls in the scene. So public list, and this is going to be a list of game objects. Remember, a list is sort of like an array, and the difference is in Unity it's easier to add and subtract from a list than it is to add and subtract from an array. I'm going to call this balls in scene. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do, oh yeah, this is something too. So in the actual game, BB10 or balls, you never get more than one ball power up per line. And right now we're getting, like 2 or 3 sometimes even. One time I was messing around with it and I got all 6 were just extra balls, and that can happen due to just the sheer randomness. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to create in the global variables. I'm going to create a variable just to make sure that I'm only having one extra ball. So I'm going to say this is going to be a public int, but I'm going to set it right now. So it's automatically going to have a value in the inspector, but I can change it later. Number of extra balls in row, and I'm going to set it right now to be 0. Now down here, where I was creating the extra ball power up, I'm going to create it if it chooses a 2 and, so and to make an and conditional, and number of extra balls in row double equals 0. Make sure you're using a double equals if you're using it as part of an if conditional. The other thing I'm going to do is down here, after I create that, I'm going to say number of extra balls in row plus plus, meaning I'm just going to add 1 to it. So that means that if it goes through, like say on the first one, it randomly picks the number 2, and it's going to check to see what the number of balls are, and if it's 0, then it'll create that ball. But then it'll also set the number of balls to 1. So in the next one over, if it randomly chooses 2, only if this is equal to 0. And since we set it to 1 last time, it's not going to create another extra set of balls. So then outside of this for loop, I'm going to reset number of extra balls in row to 0. Just to reset it there so that it's 0 when the next row comes down. Okay, and because I did something like that here, I'm going to need to do it in my placeBricks method as well. So if brick to create is 2, and number of balls in row double equals 0, then I'm going to do all this stuff, and then down here I'm going to do number of extra balls in row plus plus, and then outside of this for loop I'm going to do number of extra balls in row equals 0. And that's going to make it so it doesn't do it on any concurrent rows that come down. Okay, so I've got my list of game objects. Just checking one thing here really quickly in my notes. Okay, cool. So let's create a new script that's going to specifically manage the number of extra balls in the scene. So let's go to our scripts, and I'm going to create a script called extra ball manager. Create C# script extra ball manager. And before I go any further, I'm just going to really quickly attach this to the game manager object in the scene. Okay, and then I'm going to open up this script in MonoDevelop. So if I zoom in here, okay, guess that's as close as I'm zooming in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple references to start. So what I'm going to do is first I want to make a reference to the main ball controller. So we're going to say private ball controller, call this ball controller. Then I want to make a reference to the game manager. Game manager, game manager. Then I want to create an amount of time between when the balls are launched. So private float, I'm going to call it ball wait time. And I actually want this to be public, so I can set it in the inspector. Okay, and it's a float because I don't want to be dealing in integer seconds. I want to be, dealing in fractions of a second, so it looks like the balls are really shooting out really fast. And then I'm going to create a private version of that float, and I'm going to call it ball wait time seconds. The reason I have a public and a private version, and the private version is going to be ticking down in the background, and it's going to be checking to see if it's equal to 0 or less than. When it is, it'll do something, but then I want to have a value that I can reset that timer back to so that it's doing the same amount of time every time. And that's why I have the public float there. The private float ticks down in the background, and the public float is what I reset it to after it ticks down. So got that, and then let's do public int, and I want this to be how many extra balls there are. Number of extra balls. So like at the start it'll be 0. Every time we hit one of those power-ups it'll go up by 1. And then I also want to keep track of how many balls have yet to fire. So for example, if there's 5 extra balls and it's fired off 3 of them, I need it to know that it still has to fire off 2 more. So public int number of balls to fire. Okay, and I'm going to make a reference to the object pool as well. I'm going to set this public object pool, just so I can do it in the inspector. And then the last thing is going to be that text. So the UI that I added the text, in order for me to make a reference to it, I need to add here in my using statements. You need to add one more using statement, and that's right here. I'm going to do using unityengine.ui. And there we go. And now I can create references to UI objects. And this is going to be public. And if text doesn't come up with your autocomplete, it's because you forgot to add that unityengine.ui. And I'm going to call this number of balls text, just to be really clear. Okay. So a few things I'm going to do here. First, I'm going to finish my references to my private things, like the ball controller and the game manager. So once I create these references here, and this is only part of it, this creates an empty container. I need to fill that container with something. So I'm going to say ball controller is equal to find object of type ball controller. And then do the same thing for game manager is equal to find object of type game manager. Okay, cool. And then, so I created my references. Let's deal with these public-private timers next. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, since this one was private here, again, it created a container for it, but there's no value in there. So I'm going to assign the value right here. I'm going to say ball wait time seconds is equal to ball wait time. So this value should be set in the inspector, and this value is going to be set programmatically. I'm going to start by setting the number of extra balls to 0. Number of extra balls is 0. It should be set to 0 in the inspector anyway, but it'll be fine. And then I'm also going to set number of balls to fire to 0. Okay. Now, I have my references. The last thing I'm going to do is change my text down here. So I'm just kind of going through my global variables here and making sure I've addressed everything that needs to be addressed in the start method. And to start out, I'm going to say number of balls text, and from the text I want to reach the text component of it, so .text. And this always has to be a string. So if you're just assigning it a number, you have to open close quotations first to turn it into a string, and then add to it, I'm going to say 1, because once we start, we know there's only going to be 1 ball in the scene. Okay, before I go too much further, let's pop back into Unity, and let's deal with this stuff and also check to see if I made any mistakes. So there we go. All right, cool. Now, in my game manager object, I've got my extra ball. I'm going to set my ball wait time to 0.1. It needs to know what the object pool is, so I'm going to grab the object pool, pull it onto there, and it needs to know what the extra balls text is, and I'll pull that on there too. So what should happen now when I hit play is this should turn from being 4 zeros to being 1 if it's accessing the text correctly. So I'm going to hit play, and there we go. I've got 1 ball on scene. I'm also going to change something on this text. I'm going to make it right justified. Cool. So back in here. All right, so I've dealt with the start method. Now, in my update method, I want it to be continually checking to see how many balls there are in the scene. So I'm going to say number of balls text.text is equal to, I'm going to add to it number of extra balls plus 1, because there's however many extra balls there are, and then there's the main ball too. Okay, so now here comes the kind of complicated stuff. So what I want to do is I want to check to see the current state of the ball controller. So if ball controller dot current ball state is equal to ball controller dot ball state dot fired. So if we've already, or fire. So if we've already fired the ball, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, then we're going to do something. So remember in our ball controller script up here, we have fire, we have wait, we have aim. I think we're setting this up right. If not, we'll come back to it and fix it. Okay, back to my extra ball manager. So if number of balls to fire is greater than 0, meaning if we still have some balls to fire, we're going to say ball wait time seconds minus equals time dot delta time. And time dot delta time is just how much time has passed since the last time the update method was called. So like 0.01 seconds or something like that. So we're counting it down. We're going to say if ball wait time seconds is less than or equal to 0. So we've got a bunch of nested if statements here, and I don't blame you if you find this confusing. I'll come back to it. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the extra ball from the object pool. So I'm going to say game object ball equals object pool dot get pooled object, and I'm going to call this extra ball, not extra ball power up, extra ball. So I'm going to call an extra ball from there, and I'm going to say if ball is not equal to null, meaning if it exists, then I'm going to do ball.transform.position is equal to new vector 3. Now, I need to have something in the ball controller that stores where it was. So let me actually just, I'm going to get errors, comment that out for just a quick second. Save it, pop back into the ball controller. Now, when the ball launches, I want to be able to keep track of its exact position. So here, I have my mouse end position and my mouse begin position, but I need to add a line in here just to keep track of where the ball was launched from. And I'm also going to have to create a new vector 3 up here, keeping track of where the ball was launched from. So I'm going to say public vector 3 ball launch position. And if I didn't make that clear, I'm in the ball controller class right now. So if you don't have that open, go ahead and go to Unity and open up your ball controller script. So in the ball controller script, I'm creating a variable to keep track of where the ball was launched from. So then down here, when you release the mouse, after this return, I'm going to say ball launch position is equal to transform.position. This is public, so I can access it from other things. This is why I needed to have a reference to the ball controller, so that I could grab this from it. So I'm going to say ball.transform.position is equal to, probably don't need to do this new vector 3. I can probably just say ball controller.ball launch position. Yeah, that's probably fine. Let's go to Unity and see if it's giving me any errors for that. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, cool. So I'm setting its position to be where the ball was launched from. And then I'm also going to do ball.setActive true to make it active. And I'm going to add this new ball to the balls that are in the scene. So game manager dot balls dot add, and I wanted to add this dot game object. Actually, let's not do this dot game object. Let's just do ball, since we've already told it what the ball is. Okay, and then I also want to set the velocity of the new ball to be the same as the main ball. So ball dot, I want to get the component from it. The component I want to get is the rigid body 2D, and I want to set its velocity is equal to, I don't want ball launch position, I want its launch velocity. So let's, what did I call it in here? This be times velocity. Okay, so I want this temp velocity. Yeah, so let's get this temp velocity here. So in order to do that, I need to change this into a public vector 2. So then up here, underneath these, I'm going to do public vector 2, what did I call it? Temp velocity. And I'm getting this just so that I have a reference to the velocity here. So got my temp velocity. I'll save this, pop back into the extra ball manager, ball controller.temp velocity. Okay, cool. So I'm setting the velocity of the extra ball to the new ball, and a couple more things in here. I need to do ball wait time seconds, because this has actually been launched now. ball wait time. And then I need to do number of balls to fire minus minus, meaning subtracting 1 from it. Also, so that's outside the if statement there. I'm going to do ball wait time seconds. So the reason I'm doing this out here is this only gets activated if the object isn't null. I want it to also still count down if the object is null. Okay. So what I want to do next, so this is if the ball controller current state is fire, do all this stuff. So let's find out where update ends. So then this is where that if statement ends. I'm going to add another if statement here. I'm going to say if ball controller dot current ball state is equal to ball controller dot current ball state dot new level. Wait, did I not call it new level? I call it. Let's look at my states again here. I guess it's end shot. Ball controller dot current ball state dot That's weird. Oh, just ball state. Duh. And then I want to set the number of balls to fire is equal to number of extra balls. And semicolon. Okay, cool. So now the next thing that needs to happen is when the extra balls hit the ground, I need to remove them from the scene itself. So let's go back to Unity, and what I need to do is, what was stopping the ball was the script that's attached to this object down here. This one, grass with collider, which is this ball stop script. So I need to change this ball stop script to also be looking for the extra ball. So let's find the ball stop script, open that up, and then in this on collision enter2d, I'm going to say if other.gameObject.tag is equal to extra ball, which I think is the tag I need to use from in here, because it's the tag I used. Yep, extra ball. There we go. If it's the extra ball, then what I need to do is I need to access the game manager, which I have an access from here. So I need to make a reference to it. The reason I have to access the game manager is because I have to remove that ball from the list of balls. So private game manager, game manager equals find object of type game manager, and then down in here game manager dot balls and scene dot remove, and I want it to remove other dot game object. So the other is the thing that's colliding with it, because we called it other up here. Okay, also in the ball controller script, which I still have open, in the start method I need to do an extra thing. So I need to make sure that the game manager knows that the main ball is also one of the balls in the scene. So game manager dot balls in scene dot add this game object. Okay, so let's go back to Unity, see if I made any errors. Just incredibly likely. And I didn't. Hallelujah. So I'm going to hit play here. And it's going to think for a second. Okay, I have one ball. Bounce down. Okay, I'm just going to restart the game so I can get an extra ball sooner. Nope, maybe not. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go up to that extra ball here, and I'm going to pause it really quickly. So what I want to look at is the game manager and the extra ball manager. So I didn't add to the number of extra balls. Yep, so we're going to have to do something to that power up here. So, oh yeah, and there's a bunch of things I didn't do. So first of all, in my extra ball, I need to add a new tag. And that new tag is just extra ball. And let's change this extra ball. Let's go to the object pool. Let's add one more thing to our object pool. And this new element is going to be extra ball, and have a lot of them, like 50. Okay, so there's that. Now, let's also, we go to the scripts here. So, okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So what we need to do is we need to go to that add ball script that we created last video, and where we have this code that says do something. This is where we're actually going to do something. So what we want to do is we want to be more specific than do something. So let's do add in extra ball to the count. So what I'm going to do here is I need to be able to access that extra ball manager now. So I'm going to say private extra ball manager, and then I'm going to do extra ball manager dot number of extra balls plus. Okay, so let's try that out now. Okay, I'm going to hit play. I'm going to generate our scene. All right, cool. So now I'm going to, and I missed. Okay, cool. So object not set to a reference of an object. That's because I didn't complete my reference. So extra ball manager equals find object of type. Part of me wants to edit out when I make these mistakes, but I think I should probably leave them in just so you guys can see this is the process. Nobody ever knows exactly what to do and does it perfectly the first time. Okay, so we can hit play. You get that extra ball. Cool. Okay, so it generated the extra ball. Okay, cool. So let's find out what's going on with that extra ball. Okay, so do I have the ball material on it? I do. I set its velocity to be the same. Rigid body settings should be the same too. Huh, okay, I'm gonna check on something, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So the problem is the speed here. So I need to Come in here to my extra ball manager, and I need to set its velocity to be not just the temp velocity, but 12 times the temp velocity, I think. Save that. Pretty sure I can just multiply as a scalar. Yep. Okay, so let's hit play. Cool, we got an extra ball. It would help if I didn't miss. All right, there we go. There we go. That's what we wanted. Problem is, it moves down once this ball hits it. What I need it to do is move down under a different condition. It's also not removing that extra ball when it hit the ground. So let's go to the ball stopper script first. Let's say, okay, so we're not going to do this until we have until the number of balls in scene is just one, until we have just the one left. So let's actually no, we want it to be wait. What we want is in the ball controller, when we're in wait, right now it's immediately jumping to end shot. What we want to do instead is say if game manager dot balls in scene dot count is equal to 1, then we're going to do current ball state equals ball state dot end shot. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's that. Next, I need to go to this ball stop other.gameObject.tag extra ball, and then let's go to our prefabs. Make sure the extra ball tag is extra ball. Yeah. All right, let's try this time. Okay, a lot of testing and checking. Okay, so we've got 2 balls. 2 balls should launch. That second one still isn't actually being removed. Oh, that's why. So I removed it from the list, but then I didn't set it inactive. So I'm going to do other.gameObject.setActive false. Okay, let's go back here now. This is turning into a long video, but it'll be fine because this is probably the most complicated thing we have to do. All right, so there's my extra ball. I now have 2 balls in the scene. So I launch, both of them go. There we go. That's how I want it. We could do something to fix that too, that weird. Okay. There's a weird thing there too. But this is better. We'll fix a couple errors next time. Thanks very much. Have a great day.